Welcome to News You Can Use, presented by Supreme Lending. News You Can Use offers timely information related to the housing and housing finance industry that we believe will benefit you and your customers. This is News You Can Use.
I have some news that you can use about the economy and about the recovery and about coronavirus. But before we get to that news, I've got some other news you can use. You can get a ticket to get on the Supreme bus. And why would you want to do that? Because our destination, that's right, if you get on the Supreme bus, our destination is best. And you want to go there, and so do we. The vision for Supreme Lending is to become the best mortgage banking company in America. Why not? Why would you just sign up for anything less than becoming the best that you could possibly be? Our mission, how we're going to get to be the best, how we're going to do that is to serve others before ourselves. It's not natural, but it is the way to best. And finally, our inspiration, as it has to do with you and our customers together, is to deliver the best, the industry's best customer experience. Okay, our program coming up soon is becoming our personal and professional best. When I say coming up soon, this month's program, because we're on this journey. That is right. As an organization, all of us, and we've invited you to get on the journey, on the bus with us. Oh, and guess what? This month, we have John Gordon, who wrote the book, The Energy Bus. These are all the folks that have been and continue to be on our bus at Supreme, and we want you to get on the bus as well. And this month, you're really going to love our special guest on the 24th at 3 o'clock, John Gordon, and he's going to teach you the principles about what it means to bring your very best energy in pursuit of destination best. Oh, here we go, best. Best in life, to become our personal professional best. It starts with relationships, because relationships are the most important thing that we do in life. And you and I both know that this is true. We know that if everyone would just do what they are supposed to do the way they're supposed to do it, and if they would just say what they're supposed to say the way they're supposed to say it, that we would get along with everyone just fine. That's the problem with relationships in life. It has nothing to do with me and you. It's everyone else doing and saying what they should do and say, but they're not going to. And so where does that leave us? Well, I'm going to use a little scripture today. And imagine just for a minute that you don't join me in our faith walk. That's totally good, right? Because we're for each other. No matter what divides us, it doesn't really divide us. But I want to tell you something, okay? That when the Lord was asked what in relationships matter most, he said to love the Lord your God. So if you don't know God, just imagine that this is about your family members. This is about your spouse, significant others. Love them with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. Oh, and by the way, love your neighbor as yourself. And think of everyone, Republicans, Democrats, black, white, they're all your neighbors. And so guess what? We were called to love each other just like we love ourselves, no matter, there are no conditions. And if we can just adopt that mindset, adopt it, we're going to be much better in relationships, and that's going to help us in our personal and our professional lives. By the way, God is for everyone. He's not for everything we do, but he's still for us no matter. And so we can live our lives that way. And I strongly suggest this is news that you can use, that you can join me and join Supreme, get on our bus and be for everyone. I'm for everyone. We're for everyone. We're not for everything, but we're still for everyone. That is some news that you can use. Oh, and this is some news you can use as well. The 3 fundamentals that if you want to bring into every relationship that will, in fact, invite the relationship to be its best, is to accept people for what they are, good and otherwise, to serve them, no matter, serve them. And then finally, and you will never have a long-term relationship in this world where you don't forgive someone. So learn to forgive, learn to accept, learn to serve, and learn to give. All right, let's get on to the news, can we? All right, this year, unprecedented. COVID-19, you all know the story. And guess what? We shut the entire economy down for the first time in the history of this country. We did it. And we did it because we simply wanted to slow the advance of this virus down, to give our medical field an opportunity to be able to get prepared to manage it. And we are still in the middle of that 6 months later. We'll get to that here in just a second. We wanted to flatten the curve. That was the quote that was given. And the reason we wanted to flatten the curve was because at the time we did not have all of the medical needs in terms of medicines and in terms of hospital beds. We wanted to make sure we were fully prepared. So we flattened the curve, shut the economy down. And what did that do? Well, it did a lot, and it's not good. Unemployment claims, 58 million total so far. Unemployment went from 3.5% at the beginning of the year to the highest it's ever been since the Great Depression, 14%. Interest rates, as a result, beneficial to us. We didn't see it coming, but it was going to be beneficial. They went down because the forecast in the economy was so bad. And in fact, the forecast was right. We lost 32%, almost 33% GDP. That's growth. We were negative 33% in the second quarter of this year. Doesn't feel like it for us. A blessing in housing. Housing sales, well, they went down 33% initially, and then they came roaring back. More detail on that in a moment. Our GDP going down left a big gap. And so what did we do? We borrowed some money and we sent out stimulus and we gave money to employers so that they could keep people on the payroll. We increased unemployment benefits. We did a lot of things. And we increased our debt by about $3 trillion during this period. Actually, that's not good, but we wish we would have done even more. We'll get back to that in a moment. So these were the impacts of the induced coma. And then we decided to restart. Lots of debate about restarting, right? Like the health issue against the economy. But essentially, again, the only reason we induced the coma was to slow down, flatten the curve. We always intended to open the economy back up. We finally did. Lots of debate about, was it right? Was it wrong? Let's just be for each other, okay? Let's do that. All right, here's the shape of the recovery. We want the V, and we got the V in housing, thank God. The U would have been pretty good as well, which is go down and then come back up. The W, look, roller coaster, not really a good idea. The swoosh, the L, which is go down, not what we want at all because it doesn't ever recover. We looked at this radical sign. We finally figured it out after like 2 or 3 weeks. And it doesn't really ever get much better because Corona stays with us forever. Don't think that's going to be the outcome, but it's possible. We have a new one. Believe it or not, we have a new one. I guess you could believe it. How many do we already have? Well, we have 6. So add a 7th. It's called the K. The K is that the arm that's going up is that the upper end of the economy does really well in this recovery, and those in the middle class and below don't do well at all. And that's kind of what's going on right now, if you think about it, because those in service jobs on the bottom of the K, right-hand side down, those have been the ones that have lost all their jobs, right? And restaurants and bars and casinos and stadium employees, all of those in the service economy are still struggling. And yet the stock market and most people in the upper end of the economy still kept their jobs. And some of them are zooming, like the economy is zooming for some industries. We'll get to that in just a second. All right. We told you early on that the 3 things to watch if you were going to pay attention to the recovery once we brought the patient out of the coma was the Fed monetary policy, was Washington fiscal policy, and then finally, what's up with Corona itself. So those were the 3 things to watch. The Fed, as we have told you with regard to monetary policy, has just absolutely killed it. I mean, in a good way. They have been on time, on policy. They have done everything possible to keep the blood flowing. While it was in a coma, they kept the blood flowing, and then they've increased blood flow. So great job by the Fed. Let's talk about fiscal policy, Washington. Well, we expected too much, right? They got out of the gate really good. They did stimulus. They did the PPP, the payroll protection plan. They did unemployment increase. They really stepped out right away, and we all had hope. And then they did what they do, which is they began to focus on themselves and not really serving others before themselves. They started focusing on serving themselves. And we got blocked on the second round of stimulus, which everyone, including Jim Cramer, who may be crazy, but he's really crazy smart. Guess what? he's basically saying we need another one. And we do, because while we've made progress with this recovery, and we'll get to that in just a second, we still have a long way to go to get back to where we were pre-COVID. Let's talk about COVID. This is really, really important. We haven't been together now for the last couple of weeks. So when we left you the last time around, here's what was going on. We were testing about 700,000 people a day, and we were basically getting about 40,000 cases a day. Now we're still testing an awful lot, 760, even more, but the cases have gone from an average of 40,000 a day down to 37,000. That's good news. Even better news, hospitalizations have gone from 36,000 a day, okay, down to 30,000. So we're making major, major progress in terms of hospitalization rates as opposed to what we were doing just 2 weeks ago. And finally, and this is of course the most important data point, is, and not surprising, because the lead data, which is new cases, then to hospitalizations, the lag data is deaths. We're down from an average of 925 a day down to under 700. Good news. We're making progress with this. And so let's not get political about it, talking about all the stuff that's going on in Washington. Let's just be for a minute appreciative of the fact that we are making progress. I want to show you something that's really kind of important and showing up to us as trends. Early in the process, this thing started up in New York. And we saw a massive run up in New York of new cases, right? While the South was still pondering why it wasn't here. Well, it was on its way. But New York got hit hard. So did New Jersey early, right? And then basically they came way down. When they were coming down, then the South got it, right? Because a lot of New Yorkers moved south and came south. And then the South wound up getting this virus. It was going to come anyway, right? People blame each other for it. You can blame whoever you want. It's a virus. It doesn't have a political party, okay? It just gets on the move. And so what we saw was a massive increase in the most populous states in the South: Florida, Georgia, Texas. That's what we saw. And that was the major incline that we saw in July, was the growth of cases in those particular states. The good news, we hit a high, as an example, in Florida of 12,000 a day. We're down now to like 1,500 cases a day. So we're on our way down. You know what this tells me? This tells me that there's a cycle. It went through New York, New Jersey, the Northeast, and then it's quieted down now, okay? And it went through the South and Southeast now, and it's quieting down. And so nationally, that's why we're seeing the numbers finally starting to improve. And one other point to make. We had hoped that the summer would quiet it. It didn't, okay? We had the high points for the country in new cases in the middle of July. So of course, the coronavirus flu did not get quieted this summer. It didn't. So that tells me maybe in the fall, it could get worse, but I'll tell you what, it's feeling a little bit like we're on the other side of this now. We'll find out sooner than later, of course. COVID deaths, this is a really important idea, because I've got parents that are in their 80s. They're really healthy, right? But I've told them, man, stay in quarantine. Why? Look at the death numbers here. The majority, 75% of the deaths in this country related to COVID-19 are people 65 and older. So 75%, you get to, if you add in 55 and older, now you're at like 80% of the deaths. But I want you to pay attention to 15 to 24 years old. Pay attention to that number. 315 people so far. 315 people have died from 15 to 24. Why is that important? Because we just started college again, and a lot of the new cases are in fact college kids. But we'll get back to that in a second. Here's another important idea it related to the deaths, okay? And I want you to see this. Early on, we did not know how to treat it, right? And that was the concern. So that's why we closed everything down. We didn't know how to treat it. The deaths per 100,000 in New York, in New Jersey, in Massachusetts, 170, 180, 133. Look at the deaths numbers per 100,000 for Florida, for Georgia. Therefore, flattening the curve was the right thing to do. We got some anecdotal data. We got evidence about how to treat it better. And by the time it hit the Southeast, we did much better in managing it from a medical standpoint. That's what happened. The other thing is we figured out that older people that get it are actually going to get compromised a lot worse. And so we told them, to hide out, which they still need to until we get a vaccine, until we get more progress. They need to be careful. And by the way, all of us, every single one of us continues and needs to continue. Wash your hands, social distance, and wear a mask. Wear a mask. Love your neighbor. Okay, let's move on to the college issue. And we'll really just kind of finish COVID with this. So there's lots of news today. And the news that we think you can use is to feel a little bit better, because while colleges are going back and while there's a spread, because they're going to be college students, right? I mean, ask me when I was 18 years old to social distance from really good looking girls. Don't think I'm going to. I'm not saying it's not right to do it. I'm just saying it's not going to happen, right? So everyone's making a big ado about it, and it's important because we don't want to spread it. But here's the point, okay? It's going to spread. It's a virus. And the good news is 315 people from 15 to 24 in this country have died so far. So college students are just not as likely to get sick and just not as likely to die from it. So the new cases that are taking place today, even if they stay at the same rate, likely will yield fewer hospitalizations and fewer deaths, which is what we really care about. Let's move on to the patient. What's up with the patient from an unemployment standpoint? Retail sales, stock market, and housing. That is our economy. Let's check in on that patient, okay? Weekly unemployment claims, they missed the last estimate, but they're now down at low points from where we started this entire process. The good news is we're down underneath 1 million per week. We had gotten up, when we first put the patient into a coma, we had gotten up to 7 million in a week, and then 6 million, and then 5 million. And now we're down to less than 1 million. So we're clearly making progress from the vantage point of the unemployed, which is a big news story, because your neighbors, many of our neighbors, of course, have been impacted a lot worse than us in real estate. I mean, we've been blessed. They haven't. Be generous, please. Continuing unemployment claims for insurance, that number now has kind of flattened out. So both of those things could use stimulus. Don't serve self, serve others. Figure it out, be unified, right? Show us how we can actually partner together, right and left, to bring benefit. Here's the unemployment rate. We were running along at the best in history, and then we got to the worst in most recent history, last 100 years, because we put the patient into a coma, and now we're down to 8.2. I'll tell you what, we've made massive progress, just like America does when it puts its mind to getting things done. It just needs to put its heart to getting things done now, so we can love each other, our neighbors, even if we disagree with them. All right, retail sales. People are buying stuff. They're buying stuff, lots of stuff. We're seeing retail sales rise at over a point per month, 1.2% last time we checked in July. That's a big number. That would put it about 12% a year. Now, of course, we're having a makeup for what didn't happen back in April and May. So a lot of retailers are still struggling. They are. And it's not everyone is doing the same, because there are certain businesses that are really and have been almost decimated. And then there's other businesses doing really well. We'll get to that in a second. All right, retail sales, they climb, but the growth is slowing now. Why? Because stimulus, the fiscal policy, the government did not come through on round 2. And now that we're in the election season, it's probably not going to happen. You people, okay, come on, get your act together. Serve others before self. Here we go. Dow futures, they're jumping. Why? Because there is optimism about the future. There is a lot of optimism about the future. There's discussions right now on almost every leading economist about 2021 being substantially better than 2020 being a banner year. So that would be absolutely fabulous. I don't care who gets elected. I'll be happy to be in that economy. And I know you will too, right? So let's then move on to what's next. And that is a kind of important story. And that is that they're the 3 best stocks to watch. This will tell you what kind of economy we're really in. Zoom, it's the top stock on Wall Street these days, right? And Pfizer, why is that? Because they're working on a vaccine. And then Shopify, why is that? Because, well, all of us are using our pads at home and buying lots of stuff. Keep buying lots of stuff, by the way. We need you to buy lots of stuff. I know you need another stimulus. We're trying to get another stimulus. That's what this show's all about. Get another stimulus to these folks, will you? Please. All right, here we go. Back to pre-pandemic highs. We're real close to the highs we had reached in the stock market. And again, the stock market is a forward looking, thinking process. So the whole idea of buying stocks is a sentiment issue about where we're going to be 6 months and 12 months down the road. And so this is good news. Wherever we're at today, it appears like most of the best minds in America are thinking we're going to get better. Let's look at housing. I'll tell you what, wasn't fun when they first said, we're shutting down the economy. I thought, you're kidding me, right? Nope, we're shutting it down. It was the right thing to do at the time. And then we reopened it, and you can see the turn. I mean, at the end of or beginning of May, we really reopened, but we were on our way back up in April. Why? Because people were hearing that we might be reopening, and because people were actually out looking for houses when the year started. They thought, well, maybe now I can actually get one. If there's some people that are going to pull out of the market, let me go into it. So we've seen a V-shaped recovery in housing. It's been an amazing thing. We're not going to be up for the year. We are not, even as good as it feels right now. We're not going to be up. We'll get to that in just a second. Mortgage demand, by the way, mortgage, that includes for purchase money mortgages, for housing sales, and for refinances. It's up 40% right now from where it was just a year ago. So our industry has been extraordinarily blessed. But what you need to know, that a lot of the mortgage demand is for refinances. And that is good because it acts like a stimulus, okay? Not from Washington, by the way, but it acts like a stimulus. But here's the other part of it is, it does act like a stimulus, but it also acts as a traffic jam. And we're gonna get to that in just a second. Record number of borrowers can now save. And so this refinance boom is going to continue. We have 19 million Americans that have on the books today loans that appear to be eligible to refinance. 19 million. Now, the good news about that, if all of them refinance, that'd be about 6 billion a month in savings on payments. That's 70 billion a year. That's a big stimulus. So there is this stimulus that's actually taking place that would help. That's about $300 a month per customer. $300 a month. That's after tax. Pre-tax, that's $500-600 a month. That's like a $6,000 a year increase in your pay. So refinancing is good, but it also creates a traffic jam in the lending industry. See, the lending industry going into COVID-19 had a capacity, just like any industry does. And maybe people thought it was going to be, let's not all agree that it was going to be all used because purchases were going to go down when we shut the economy down, of course. But then all of a sudden it opened back up and purchases kicked into gear. And then this refinance avalanche kicked into gear. And guess what we have now? We have like an all-time record of demand for mortgages, which is creating a traffic jam, which impacts you and your customers because the lending industry, including appraisers and title companies, but mostly lenders, they are out of capacity today if they're focusing on refinances. And guess what? They can't serve you. We can. Start with Supreme. All right, Doug Duncan, can't wait next Monday. Doug will join us. Doug, the chief economist with Fannie Mae, is going to join us to give us an update. He'll have his latest update on what's going on in housing and how he sees not only the fourth quarter of 2020, but 2021. He's going to be back with news you can use next Monday. Don't miss it. Let's talk about his most recent forecast. And so this is his August forecast. August 15th, he put it out. We'll get a new forecast in September. His forecast has improved a little bit for 2020. He was showing a decline year over year sales of around just under 6%. Now it's down to just under 4%. So things are a little bit better. And next year, he's adjusted to just under 2%. So that's down a little bit. This year is up a little bit from his previous forecast. So just to remind you, roughly right, these are annualized numbers, about 6 million housing sales a year took place last year. Just under 6 million will take place this year, 5.8, and then next year back to just around 6. But look at the fourth quarter this year. A typical seasonal adjustment is going to be about 14% down in October, November, December. We'll see if that holds. Doug will tell us that next week. He may be a little bit more optimistic. We'll see. We are. I hope you are too. All right. Interest rates, good news. We're expecting them this year to be down. They are, and next year even lower, which again will continue to fuel this refinance surge that we've had, and that will create traffic. So start with Supreme, and I'm going to give you the details as to why you need to start with Supreme here in just a minute. Historically, interest rates are now, and they've been continued, the media has continued to tell us that we're hitting all-time lows, and that's because we're at numbers. If you'd have told me during the course of my career that we would be at 3% or lower on 30-year fixed rates, I would have told you, you need to get some counseling, but we're there. And we could actually get lower next year if Doug's forecast holds true. And we expect it will, because Doug is one of the better forecasters in the world with regard to housing. Why? Fannie Mae is the largest issue of housing debt in the world. They make more loans ultimately than any other entity in the world in U.S. housing. All right, look at the refinance and purchase percentage. Again, mortgage demand up 40% year over year. A lot of it is in refinances. 54%, the majority of loans today that are actually in pipelines of lenders, the majority of loans are in the refinance business. Again, this will show you that on the left-hand side. This is the lending industry. 54% of what's in their pipeline are refinances, only 46% purchases. That makes them, well, less likely to be an expert in the purchase business. Look at Supreme Southeast. Start with Supreme. 81% of our business, 81% is in the purchase area. We are an expert in that area, which is why you need to start with Supreme and get your customers to start with Supreme. And only 19% of our business refinances. It's not because we don't do our past customers, friends, family, and we'll do your loan as well. It's just that we don't advertise. We don't take those loans because we want to keep capacity open to serve you and your customer, because that's what we do. Get on our bus, by the way. We're going destination best. All right, the average time it takes to make to make a loan in our industry today. Refinances take 50 days. The average is 47. Purchases take 44 days. You put that in your contract with a buyer, see if they like that. Seller, not likely to. All right, so the industry, you know what they do? They make wine. You know what we do? We make good time. That's what we do. 21.9 days versus 47. I don't know. Should you start with Supreme? Should your customer start with Supreme? Well, if you like wine, we'll give you some at the closing. How about that? No promises. But that's what you should do. Start with Supreme. Because if you do, you'll get in our car. See, nice and red, goes really fast. And that's what'll happen. And then you'll get paid on time in 22 days versus 44 or 47 or 50, okay? You figure it out. Supreme Speed Service. We're gonna give you next time we talk details about what you can do to help us go really fast in this car. You see, when you start with Supreme and you wanna go really fast because that's gonna be good for your contract to be accepted against all of those other contracts that are being imposed on a particular piece of property, that's how you get buyers under contract, right? Make the features right. We're going to tell you how you can help us so we can go really fast together with your customer so they can be successful and so you can too. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't start with Supreme, or if your customer tragically started someplace else, then you may need the Supreme Rescue Service. Call your loan officer, local loan officer. We will take a look at what's going on with the patient, your transaction. And if we can get it worked out, we will figure it out, tell you how we're going to figure out, and then we'll bring you to a closing very quickly. Our customer service tells you why you should start with Supreme, because our SAT rates are almost 99% of our customers. And by the way, in America today, not everybody's happy. So to be able to get somebody to say they're happy 99% of the time, you better be doing really good work. We are. Okay, and we're committed to continue to do it. Perfect? No, but we're really working to be the industry's best customer experience. That's why we're delivering the industry's best, because we focus on it. Close on time, and every time, 99.5% of the time we do that. And guess what? That gets you paid on time. Can I get one amen? Right?
Amen.
Amen. Pay you on time. Perfect. All right, Supreme Speed. We can't go any faster than 8 days. Why? The government won't let us. So 8 days. And based on the traffic jam, if you want to go in 8 days, we're going to give you next week very specific instructions to give to your customers so they can go in 8 days. All right. I told you early on that there was a ticket waiting for you to get on the Supreme Lending bus. We're going destination. We're going to best. We want to be our personal and professional best. And this month's program, September 24th at 3 o'clock, we have the author of The Energy Bus. Awesome book. If you haven't read it, you should. And John Gordon and I spent some time lately, and you'll get to meet him and spend some time with him coming up here soon. Hey, John, what's up?
Hey, this is John Gordon, author of The Energy Bus. Hope you join me September 24th at 3 p.m. on the Supreme Lending Personal and Professional Best program. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be epic.
Hey, John, I'm looking forward to everyone getting to know you better, and I'm looking forward to you bringing energy to all of us. See you soon. Hey, finishing today, I just want to remind you, we're in a historically challenging time, but you know what? Adversity can be the birthplace of getting better in life, in our individual lives, in our professional lives, and in this nation that we all live in. We all have to own that. And so I want you to adopt with me this idea, and that is to be for everyone. You don't have to be for everything, but be for everyone, please. If we're all doing this right now, we're going to wind up not only happier, but we're going to wind up making the world and this country a better place. We'll see you soon next week. Doug Duncan's joining us on the 21st at 3 o'clock for News You Can Use.